Haven't made videos a whole lot this summer. It's been kind of a crazy summer, so I thought maybe I could make a quick video on just a recap of just what's been going on this summer. Um, so starting out this summer, we started getting real busy with the business and doing a lot of trail rides, everything, and that was keeping us going really well. And then obviously, as I was kind of making videos before on trying to get some of this equipment set up to start making my own hay, that was quite the adventure. I've never made hay myself before. I've always been the grunt that bucks the bales and stacks hay and everything, so it was a whole different ball game trying to just learn and figure out how to run the equipment. And I guess a lot of it was working on the equipment to try to keep it running. I've been using a lot of old equipment that hasn't been used in years and trying to get it to the point to where it'll work. And it was a struggle through the summer trying to get all that figured out. My swather, which I knew was going to be probably not the easiest thing to work with, it ended up being where I'd get out there in the field with it, and I would probably make 2 or 3 times around the field, and something would break on it or fall apart, and I'd have to stop and go fix it, and it just kept going that way for quite a while. And then on top of that, I was coming over here to the neighbors that we have a really good relationship with, and he lets us ride the horses and stuff across his property. And but he was having a lot of issues early on in this season. For his first cutting, he was just having breakdown after breakdown and having issue after issue. So I was not only working on my own stuff and trying to keep it running and figure that all out, I was coming over here and working on helping him get his stuff figured out and fixed and trying to keep him running. So it was just a crazy busy summer, and not just the hay, but also our business running just full bore and trying to do the hay and trying to do irrigation. Ended up really hot and dry this summer. I think we had some days that were 100 degrees and the humidity was down to like 10%, and things were just scorching. It was really a lot of work trying to just keep things green and alive so we could keep feeding animals. So just with everything going on, it was insanely busy, and I just never really had quite enough time to be able to make videos. I think maybe as time goes on and I get better equipment and kind of get better at doing this, maybe I can get into making better videos and making more through the summer of just how I am progressing here and how I'm figuring out how to do things. And so with the neighbor here, he was getting pretty frustrated with his operation and his equipment breaking down all the time. And one morning he ended up calling me and said that he was done. He's about to turn 80 years old, and he loves doing it. He enjoys being out in his field, and he doesn't mind running the equipment and stuff, but he just can't do getting out of the equipment and unclogging the swather and trying to put things back together, or constantly going back to the shop and working underneath that swather and the tractor and trying to keep things running. And it was hard on him this summer. So he said that he was done. He just told me that he wanted to quit doing it, and he told me that I could take over for him and just use his equipment and keep things running. And asked him if we wanted to do like a crop share, if we wanted to, split the profit, and he said no. He wanted to see it just managed and done, and he just let me kind of take over and start figuring out. And obviously I was going to him all the time and asking him for his advice on things that I didn't know, but I was able to get his equipment running. And actually started to get to a point where things were going okay, and I progressed to the point of being able to get a second cutting off the field, and it went pretty well. Learned some things, and just kind of figuring it out as I was going, and trying to understand the whole moisture, and was it better to cut in the morning with the dew on, or was it better to cut the hay when it was drier and a little warmer outside? And then once it was on the ground, was it a better idea to just let it sit, and then, or was it a better idea to turn it over and let it dry? When I was doing the hay, it was very hot, probably near 100 degrees, very low humidity. Wind would pick up during the day. So I had very short windows of trying to figure out what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it, what would be best for producing the hay. And I had found that the best thing for cutting seemed to be after the dew was off, while it was still somewhat cool, even through most of the day, until I just couldn't quite sit in the tractor anymore if it just got too hot. But I could get things cut, and it would definitely cut nicer when it was a little bit drier. So I did that. I had a few areas out in the field that were so thick that I had to, stop and let the swather clear out, just because it would plug up on me. But other than that, I didn't get as much as I was hoping that I would, but it did end up, I talked to my father-in-law a little bit about trying to figure out when to bale the hay, and if I needed to turn it or not turn it, and went with an idea that I probably wasn't going to turn it. But then after kind of investigating and looking through the stuff, I found that most of my windrows were still really wet in areas, so I just decided it was going to be better if I just turned it. So I ended up just turning it all, combined my windrows, which made really nice windrows. And I started to struggle with that because it would start getting so hot and so dry that I did find that it would turn better when there was a little bit of dew on in the morning, and it was the humidity was a little higher. It would just kind of hold together better, and I was using an inverter to just pick it up and turn it over, and made some really nice windrows that way. And then I just let them dry out, and then found that my father-in-law was telling me with hay, like, you want to be able to pick it up and twist it, or take a good handful and twist it between your hands, and you want to keep twisting it and see how long you can, or how many times you can twist it until it breaks. And he said if you can break it at 4 or less than 4, it's too dry. If you can break, or if it doesn't break it after 6 turns, then it's too wet. So he was like, you want to be right in about 5 turns, 4 to 5 turns, and it breaks is about the right moisture. So I was kind of going by that and trying to figure it out. And the first stuff that I ended up baling up, and I was just trying to figure out the moisture and the time of day, which seemed to be in the morning. And the first morning that I baled, there was just a real light dew on. It wasn't heavy, and so things were just slightly damp. Humidity level was at about 45%, and that stuff baled up just gorgeous. It turned out perfect. Bales averaged 75 pounds each, which was about exactly what I wanted. And it just, they looked nice and green. Everything was dry, baled up so nice. And then just you are soaking wet. Ended up just getting that all done, picked it up, put it in the barn, really happy with it. The next day I had some stuff that I still had to turn, so I came out as early as I could in the morning and turned it, and I got a turn, noticed that there was some wet spots still, and I was hoping that they would dry out, but I was kind of running out of time. I needed to get things baled up and in the barn that day, because the next day it was supposed to start raining, which it did, and it got very wet. But anyways, it baled up just a little wetter than it probably should have. The bales ended up pretty heavy, and then there's just, you could see spots in them where there was just a little too much moisture. So I wasn't as happy with that stuff, but I think it'll still feed all right. We can just throw some of the grosser chunks to the cows and let them have that. So I did find that morning I did, it was about 65% humidity out that morning. Dew was pretty heavy that morning. So I think next year when I do this again, I'll probably be always trying to hit that baling window where the humidity is about 45%. Make sure my windrows are dried out and maybe just a little light dew on them, and see if I can't, get to the point of baling up all my stuff really well. Most of my second cutting goes to the horses. I've got this whole side over here filled up with about 16.5 tons of just, it's not the best hay, but it'll make good cow hay. So when it comes to feeding the horses, we're pretty picky about what they get. So they get the nicer second cutting stuff. But anyways, the owner of the property here, he just told me, go ahead and just you do the hay and use all my equipment. He was like, you sell it, keep it for your horses or cows, whatever you want to do. He doesn't need a dime. He just wants to see it done. So I'm pretty excited about that it's really gonna be a game changer for us, because this year we were probably looking at, we were probably looking at probably, I'm gonna say $10,000 worth of hay to feed everything through the winter. So fortunately, now that we've got this going on, this year we're probably looking at spending maybe half of that, which still isn't ideal. We would like to get to the point where we could be self-sufficient with our hay production, along with being able to sell some of it to make some money. So that's kind of just a recap of what's been going on this summer. I love the smell of the fresh cut hay. It's something I just always remembered when I was a kid, and I loved smelling the fields after they were cut, and I've always enjoyed haying, so it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun actually being on the other end of it, actually producing the hay instead of being just the grunt. Even though this year I was still the grunt, I picked up all my own hay and put it up. So next summer I guess we'll just see how it works out, and maybe things will get better. Maybe I can get to the point of hiring some young guys to be my grunts and pick up the hay for me, and just see where things go in the future. I'd like to get a round baler eventually and start making just some round bales off of some of this, maybe off the first cutting, and then the second cutting I could do all small squares. There's some stuff up on the hills here that is trying to work the equipment up on the hills is pretty sketchy. Trying to figure out how to do that was difficult, to say the least. And there was a few spots that he said that, the tractor would just start sliding down the hill, and you just kind of had to go with it and just point it straight down and just go. But it definitely some butt puckering moments when you're coming down certain spots and the swather or the baler just starts pushing that tractor and it just starts sliding. It's pretty wild, but can actually end up getting quite a bit of hay off the hills. So next summer I'll be trying to figure out how to do that a little bit better. I did get some this summer, but it was starting to get past the point of even bothering cutting and baling it. So, it's been a wild, crazy summer. Been enjoying it though, and I'm hoping to start making more videos. I love the feeling of when summer starts to come to an end and the days start cooling off and start getting a lot more dew in the morning. Before we know it, we'll start getting a frost, and the summer just all of a sudden is over, and the busy season kind of winds up, and we just start kind of more enjoying and just kind of getting back to the normal routine of making it through winter. So I think I'll just wrap this video up with that. That's just kind of a little bit of a recap of what's been going on. So kids are back in school now, and I should probably start having a little more time to work on things and make videos, and so hopefully I can get back to it. Yeah, I guess the biggest thing I want to say is that I really thank God that He allows me to do what I absolutely love and have a passion to do. So you guys have a great day, and I think I'll start working on making my one hay video that I did end up making. So I'll get it put together and post it just shortly after this one. So you guys have a great one, and we'll see you next time.